Well, we are live waiting for the January the 27th, 2025 Alamance County Commissioners meeting to begin. This meeting was delayed from the previous week due to snow. And so tonight they're going to be talking about several things, but one of the big issues that they're going to be talking about is, I think, a gun ordinance. It should be typically a large crowd there tonight, I would think. I would expect it to be people waiting, anticipating to see exactly what they are going to do. And while they're doing that, let me add another until it comes on. But I would think the meeting should be starting shortly. And but anyway, this is our first live broadcast. We're going to try to do this live and cover the meeting as it unfolds. So we'll see exactly what happens here in just a little bit, and it looks like it's getting ready to start. $6:29, 1 minute left, and here we go. If I'm not able to hear the audio, I'm hoping they'll turn it on in just a moment. But there you have your county commissioners: Ed Priola to the left, Steve Carter in the beside of him, John Paisley in the middle, Kelly Allen to the right of John, or to the left of John, to our right, and then Pam Thompson in the red on the far beside of Kelly Allen. So, and then in front of that, you have the county manager on the right, and I think you have that's the finance manager too beside of her. And the gentleman that's walking around up there is Thomas. I think he's with the Alamance News, and looking forward to see exactly what unfolds, what happens. They'll begin by at least talking about or going into, I think, a word of prayer, a moment of silence, however they word it. Then they will turn into the Pledge of Allegiance, and then the meeting will begin. So we'll see what actually happens concerning this meeting today. In case you haven't been made aware of it, there's been a lot of discussion about an ordinance to regulate the discharge of firearms, and so this actually went up for a vote, I believe, last year. I believe it was, and it fell short. 3 votes to 2 votes. John Paisley, Bill Ashley, and Pam Thompson voted against it. Steve Carter and Craig Turner voted for it. It failed, and so the people who are trying to get a little bit more, people who are trying to get a little bit more gun regulation. I don't want to say gun regulation, just safety regulation. I think of the way they would word it. I don't think these people are against guns. I just think they are trying to make it to where they can live out in their community and be safe. And I think they'd like the gun range to be safe. But we'll see how it unfolds. I hope they turn the volume up. I have volume here.
And they'll have to vote on whether.
There we go.
it should be able to use it, so.
Call the meeting to order. Commissioner Allen, you have the honors.
Okay, thank you. Bow your heads for prayer, please. Dear Lord, help us to make the best decisions for the residents of the county. Please continue to protect the men and women of our military who fight and die every day for our freedom. and our law enforcement officers and our first responders. In your name we pray. Amen.
Steve Cheers.
So you can see from that video shot that there are quite a few people there. And I'm not sure what John's going to say about allotting time for people to speak, but here he goes.
Good. Thank you. As we call the third item on the docket, approval of the agenda, I understand, Mr. Carter, you have a motion.
I do, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we take table item 6A, the shooting range ordinance. As I believe all of our citizens are aware, our board takes a very conservative view of our Second Amendment rights. It has come to my attention that there are a number of members on this board who find a number of issues with the gun rights or with the ordinance and some of the impact it might have on gun ranges. I'd like to see us have our county attorney have the opportunity to meet with the gun range owners and operators and go through the needs of our citizens. One of our primary roles, as everybody's probably aware, is public safety. We've got to balance the two. We don't want to put anybody out of business. That's not our goal, and I don't think that's anybody's goal here tonight. But what we do want to do is make sure that ranges are operated in a safe way. Now, what we can't do, or what we also have to be able to do, is try and look at the future and make sure that future gun ranges are also set up when new ones come into play. As we grow this county, there are going to be more people that want to open up gun ranges. And we have one situation right now in one part of the county. I'm sure we have somebody here tonight to speak about that one, where it's not a gun range, but some people have just started shooting all over his property from a very small parcel. And these are the kind of issues that as county commissioners, we're responsible to try and come up with a solution to. It's not easy. I guarantee you, it's not necessarily fun either, but it is one of our responsibilities, and we take it seriously. So that's my motion, to table the item for the day, and let's work forward on it.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any comments on this issue? There being none, all in favor of tabling the shooting range issue for tonight, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous.
Wow.
We have other things about the agenda, but I wanted to get that off the docket because I know a number of you here for the gun range. We will still have public comments, so you're welcome to stay or leave, your option. Mr. Stevens, I understand you want to amend our agenda with a closed session.
I do want to amend the agenda with a closed session, and I'll make that motion during my comments board. And if I may briefly just say to each of you, I know I've spoken with you about this issue, but I want to also make sure the public is aware that I think we all have the same goals and objectives in mind when it comes to trying to find a way to bridge the gap between public safety and over-regulation, and certainly that was not my intent. I look forward to working with anyone here who has an interest in the issue and speaking with them, trying to adopt changes that will work best for the community and for each of the commissioners. Thank you.
Might also indicate, Mr. Stevens, prior to being a lawyer, was in law enforcement, is a shooter, and shoots on a gun range. I've seen all kinds of it. I'm sure all of us have seen many emails, telephone calls saying that Mr. Stevens is anti the Second Amendment. That is not the case. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we allow a closed session during the attorney comments section. You want to have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion second, any comments? All in favor of adding the closed session at the end of our meeting, indicate same by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's a second.
So they're going to have a closed session.
And you have,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to move to table item 5, not table, I beg your pardon, to remove it from the consent agenda and put it on the regular agenda.
Item 5.
Item 5E, Governor's Crime Commission Grant Application Family Justice Center.
and I'll second that motion. Any comments?
Yeah, I spoke with you the other day, being on the Governor's Crime Commission and the Grant Writing Committee, Crime Victim Services, I'm gonna ask to be recused from that kind of vote. I do it every time. I go over and stand on the wall, and y'all are so nice to let me do that. I don't make a dime from serving in Raleigh, but I don't ever want the appearance that my influence here could be there, could take anything away from the Family Justice Center.
And we'll take that up with the recent
Okay.
item.
Just laying it away.
We're going to remove you.
Go ahead.
Okay. 5E, and we're actually, we'll remove that from column 5 to column 6.
Right.
And probably replace it with the shooting range ordinance position.
6A.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments about the agenda? There being none, all in favor of the amended agenda as presented, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
So they all agree to amend it.
Okay. We have 21 speakers. I do note that a couple of you have signed up twice. You sign up by either calling in to our clerk, and I see that you've added a number to our list, or by going on email to our website. So, looks like 12 people did that, and the rest of the 21 signed up in the hallway. We're gonna get to as many of you as we can, but we procedurally are limited to 30 minutes, but totally for public speakers. So, we limit each speaker to 3 minutes. I'm gonna announce the speaker and then the next speaker, so if the second speaker will line up, adjacent to the podium over here, just be ready, because I want to get as many speakers in as possible. But if we're taking a lot of time moving and in the aisles and whatever, it'll be less speakers, we want to hear more. And I take them in the order that you're here, unless any of you are on the same topic and wish to have someone speak for you. And we'll certainly allow that if you do.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think people want to speak for themselves in this case.
Speaker number 1, and 3 minutes per speaker. Rudy, you're first.
So Rudy Cartassi, this is the owner of Brad
Speaker,
Range.
please announce
Let's
your
listen to
name,
Rudy as he speaks about
where
this
you're
issue.
from, if agreeable, your precinct, or, so we'll know, well, which.
You're asking a lot for
township
precinct
you're in.
1, but I'll try. It's in Mebane.
If you don't know that, and.
Off the top of my head.
And all speakers are timed.
Okay. My name's Rudy Cartassi. I live at 207 East Steel Street, Mebane, North Carolina. And I don't know the precinct, but it's in Mebane. Good evening. Last time I was here, I wished everyone Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And based on what I hear now, I kind of got to jump around for a moment. So I had a top 3, but we're going to just wing this one here. I want to start out off by saying this, and I think everyone needs to hear this and understand this. Any government powerful enough to give people all that they want is also powerful enough to take it away whenever they want. And that goes for everything, whether it's gun rights, automobiles, planes, cars, trains, whatever. Anytime a government is powerful to do that, they can take it away from us. So be mindful of that. Next thing I wanted to go through real quick here was the Bruin decision. As the county attorney knows, he's an attorney, there's a thing called the Bruin decision. It got rid of balanced testing, which is, and I think it was Supreme Court Roberts that said this, anytime you try to balance a right, you're gonna have infringement. So imagine there's a scale, the scale of justice balancing something, balance scale. If you start picking and moving stuff away from that, there is an infringement. Whether that's on any right, First Amendment right, Fourth Amendment right, Second Amendment right. Anytime you start trying to balance stuff, that's when you have a problem. And realize our government was designed from this from day one. When you start trying to tinker with rights, it's 10,000 times harder than doing with an automobile, because an automobile is a privilege. So you're doing the difference between a right and a privilege. The right is 10,000 times harder to move than it is a privilege. And with that being said, look at McDonald versus the city of Chicago. The Supreme Court even said, hey, look, this just doesn't apply to federal government. It also applies to state and local governments. And I look forward to working with the county attorney. I'm sure you have my number. If not, you can look it up or you ask it for any of the commissioners. You can ask Terry Johnson. He knows where I live. He knows where I work. I'm not a hard man to find. So I look forward to working with you. Come on down. Let's talk and meet. But what we can't do is start infringing on the rights of our citizens. And that includes the gun rights. And that includes the Fourth Amendment rights and the First Amendment rights. Kind of North Carolina, the right to the fruits of our labor, that clause in there. I run a gun range. I run a gun store. That's what I do for a living. So making ordinances that were proposed like this, as you can see, and I think the county commissioners did the right thing there, where they all looked at it and said, this is a problem. And I appreciate you guys. And hopefully in 2 more weeks, we'll be back here and we can have another master class on how not to hurt our rights of our citizens. So thank you very much. You all have a great day.
All right, that was Rudy Cartassi, owner of Rad Range. And he doesn't want
Next,
his,
Richard Clark.
Richard Clark. Now, he is also, he's spoken
After
several
Richard
times
will be,
before.
Gerald Long.
Richard Clark is
Gerald, I see
I
you've signed up twice.
think he's like a noise specialist. And he, if this is the same gentleman, he spoke several times for Rudy. Let's see what Richard says here.
Talk too much.
Richard, pull the mic closer to you.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. So, the purpose of what I want to talk about tonight is sound, okay? I've heard so much about complaining about noise, and I think it's about time that instead of he said it's this and you said that, I want to establish myself as an expert on the subject of sound. Anybody that hasn't read this book doesn't have any right to be talking about sound. I mentioned in this book, the author on page 34, there's a chapter on the 50 most influential people in the world of audio, and I'm one of the 50. So I know what I'm talking about. Now listen, just so y'all want to know, our Pledge of Allegiance was 90 dB in here. And I went to the 2 properties right by their mailboxes the other day while Rudy was shooting off a 7mm machine gun. And at, let's see, at the log cabin, it was 88 dB, almost as loud as our Pledge of Allegiance. Okay? I own the 3 pieces of property that are closest to the range of anybody else. And 20 feet from the property line, I measured 89 dB. And over by where this sheriff lady lives or something like that, I measured 84 dB with a large caliber 7mm machine gun going off. I have personally done sound systems for 3 U.S. presidents. I have toured with more rock groups than any of you could name. I quit touring, and the last tour I was with Neil Diamond. I've done Pink Floyd, I've done Aerosmith. I have 30 U.S. patents on audio devices. Go to U.S. Patent Office, put my name in there, and you'll see them. The one I'm most proud of is one that I did on, along with, I share the patent with Diane Cooleyport, who is president of the National Audiological Society. And I invented, came up with a process of digitally measuring and ears. And all these little earbuds that you see them selling on, what's that football player sells the little, oh boy, he worries me to death, but,
Joe Namath.
Joe Namath, it made those possible. That's, all of those are made under that patent. But I don't charge for the patent, okay?
And Mr. Clark, we thank you.
So he is a
What's the name
noise
of your
or
book? I couldn't see it from over here. Mr. Clark?
Handbook for sound engineers.
I'll leave this with council here.
he's a sound engineer, and apparently he's well respected in the field.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you very much for allowing me to speak to you
Jim
this evening.
Young
My
is
name
next.
is Gerald Long. I live in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I'm here to speak on behalf of Central Carolina Gun Club. I'm one of the trustees there. And I just want to say that I applaud the efforts that you guys are working on here. I know this is a very tough issue, and we have always at Central Carolina emphasized safety and been conscious of our neighbors from the very beginning. And everything was done in terms of the range design to make sure that we were good neighbors and that we were safe neighbors. And, you know, given the ordinance as it is written, it is my opinion that it will not accomplish your objective of making your residents close to the ranges more safe and/or give them kind of domestic tranquility, if you will. I think there is solutions to address the issue, and I think it involves adults sitting down, the ones with vested interests, people from the gun ranges, of course, county government, and I would argue also residents, to come up with a solution that addresses the problem. So I do this at work all the time, and I think it can work here. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you.
And we thank you.
Trustee
And I
of the
look forward
Central
to
Carolina
being
Gun Club.
involved to whatever degree you would have me. Thank you very much.
After Mr. Young will be David McFarland. And I think, Mr. McFarland, you may have signed up more than once as well.
Online twice. I didn't know whether last week's sign-up
Yeah.
was good this week.
Mr. Young.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Jim Young. I live in Graham, and I've been the president of Durham Pistol and Rifle Club for, I think, about 6 years now. I might be wrong, but I think Durham Pistol and Rifle Club is one of the oldest ranges in North Carolina. They were established in 1946. We located to where they're at now off of Jim Minor Road in Hall River, 1987, 84. We've got, as of right now, I believe 218 acres. Probably more than half of that is a buffer. We've got 1,500 members, give or take one or two, depending on who renews their membership. I just, anytime there's any kind of ordinance that comes up that's going to affect my membership, I want to, somebody left their phone up here. I have to come and speak up for my members, and I think that we can reach some kind of balance with the county attorney and find some ground to where everybody's happy. Well, you're not going to make everybody happy, but at least we can find some kind of balance with all this. The ordinance, as the proposed ordinance, is not it. But I'm pretty sure we can reach some kind of balance with it. And I'm just going to be honest. The only reason we're even here and these other range guys are here is because of one place. And you can't punish the rest of us for what one place is doing. And that's that's my 2 cents. I appreciate you letting me speak, and I look forward to meeting with the county attorney, and I appreciate y'all. Oh, and it's Holocaust Remembrance Day, so we've got to remember it, because it's it's not going to be very many people around that were involved. So I appreciate y'all letting me speak. Thank you so much.
Jim, I'd have to look at my charter, but I think we might be on the same date. Alamance Wildlife Club, I thought was 46. It could be 46 or 48. I have to look at my charter. We've got 306 acres, a lot of buffer space.
Yeah, you need it.
So that was Jim Young.
Following Mr. McFarland will be Eric Henshaw.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak tonight. My name is David McFarling. I am the past president of Durham Pistol and Rifle Club. I was president from 1990 till sometime about 2002. I'm president of the North Carolina Rifle and Pistol Association. We have 1,500 members plus statewide. And I'm also a member of the Central Carolina Gun Club and still a member of the Durham Pistol and Rifle Club, so I have a vested interest in everything here. First, let me say that we won't ever contest anything having to do with firearm safety. Safety first, last, and always. But I've been a member of DPRC and CCGC for a long time, Durham Pistol and Rifle Club for 36 years. And they are the safest places in the world to shoot. I'm a high-power rifle competitor. I've shot on more firing ranges than most people have seen. I've spent more time on rifle ranges than anybody else here. I'll be willing to make that bet right now. And Durham Pistol and Rifle Club in Central Carolina are among the finest in the country. When I was at DPRC, we worked hard to work with the neighbors. If somebody had a complaint, we addressed it. I know we had some people send me a letter one time about Sunday mornings, and so I went to the next meeting, and we changed our opening time from 8 till 10 on Sundays, just because the neighbors asked. And so I think that there are a couple of pieces of this that are good. Berms, I think every bullet that's fired in North Carolina should go into a berm if you're not hunting. And then you should know what's behind your target. Fencing, you don't describe anything about fencing, how big, how much. That's very expensive. It could be a heck of an expense for a gun club. So that if you're going to pass the ordinance, that needs to be defined. One thing we need to do is define the difference between a commercial range and a private gun club. It gets kind of mucky in there. But private clubs, except for the safety stuff, I don't think this county has the right to tell us what to do. Signage, we need good signage. You need to let people know they're about to pass onto a gun club where there might be live fire. Go along with that. When you talking about what time they can operate, do you tell the guy at 7-Eleven what time he can open and close? Registration, if you're a commercial range, you got a business license. And if the county wants to know how many gun ranges there are, they can go to the tax office and look that up. There's no problem with that. So I think that registration is just an extra tax. Sorry. Thank you for listening. And the North Carolina Rifle and Pistol Association would like very much to be involved in anything you do. Like I say, I'm an expert on rifle ranges. Thank you very much.
Mr. Henshaw?
So
Lee
a lot of people
Hicks
showing up.
will be the next.
Hey everyone, my name is Eric Henshaw. I own and operate Family Traditions Gun Range. I'm an indoor range down on the south side of the county. It seems like we're here because we're painting all ranges with the same brush. You comparing cars to pickup trucks. We don't roll like that at our spot, okay? We put safety first, safety paramount, especially with the community involved. I've been on ranges, everybody knows that. I've been on ranges since probably the late 80s with my pops. He started handguns back in 1994. And things like this, like the gentleman was just talking about, that's gonna come down to a bunch of adults sitting down talking about things. putting your neighbors first, putting some of your personal feelings back behind you. I get spot checked by OSHA, EPA, and ATF by being an indoor range, okay? There's no set regulations on outdoor ranges. That's why you're here, all right? We have to jump through hoops, okay? Air filtrations, all that good stuff. The air you breathe is cleaner than what you got in downtown Graham, all right? So, couple things, like the gentleman just, the professional on the rifle range, definitely, with your berms, your signage, all that, you good to go. But when you're talking about having certified personnel versus qualified personnel managing the people, all of my guys and girls out at my range, they're certified, not by their buddies saying that you're qualified. Put them out there, make them go to a school, watch them on these subjects, make that safety paramount importance like it is at our facility. My main concern is not about my range, it's about also the taxpayers' money, all right? There's several county and city-owned outdoor ranges. That falls into your ordinance. Who's going to pay for them registration fees? That's going to be your taxpayers. If they have to upgrade these ranges and everything, that's going to come down to your taxpayers. That's what really needs to be considered when we're talking about funding of these outside projects. Like I said, just don't paint the picture with the same brush. That's all I'm asking. Thank you for your time. You know where to find me.
And we thank you.
Yeah, he owns a gun range at 49
Okay,
South.
Mark Terry will be the next speaker.
Good evening. My name's Lee Hicks, and I live at 950 Border Lake Trail in Burlington, North Carolina. I'm here to represent myself and the neighbors of the Deep Creek community again, which is regularly affected by the Rad gun range. Contrary to some claims, the homeowners in the area are not anti-gun or against the Second Amendment. That seems to be the false narrative being spread. I'm a responsible concealed carry gun owner. I take pleasure in hunting on our family farm and lawfully owning various firearms, including handguns, long guns, and AR platform weapons. Additionally, I support other gun ranges within our county by participating in events such as turkey shoots, fundraisers for special causes, or simply honing my shooting skills. Unlike many people who frequent these ranges, I have the privilege of being able to hunt and shoot on land that I own. Recognizing this, it is evident that gun owners throughout the county need designated locations for practice. The distinction between merely owning a firearm and being able to use it safely is significant. Therefore, it is essential that there are facilities where individuals can responsibly hone their shooting skills, ensuring they remain accountable and proficient gun owners. This proposed ordinance aims to ensure that these facilities are operated and maintained with the highest safety standards. This ordinance does not threaten or infringe upon anyone's Second Amendment rights. Section 3 explicitly states that hunting activities, lawful defense of self or others, temporary shooting activities lasting up to 72 hours, and law enforcement training are exempt from its application. There are numerous codes and standards and ordinances that govern nearly every aspect of our daily lives. Building codes ensure that our homes and structures are constructed safely. Fire codes ensure that put safety measures in place for all the other buildings that every one of you frequent every day. Additionally, there's driving laws in the state of North Carolina which aim to enhance road safety and secure travel for all citizens. This proposed ordinance aligns with the previously mentioned measures. It represents a deliberate effort by the board to enhance safety, benefiting all residents of Alamance County in their pursuit of maintaining a safe, peaceful, and harmonious communities. Thank you for your time.
And we thank you. James Tate will follow Mr. Terry.
Mark Terry, my wife and I own property at 2528 Fawcett Lane. Good evening, Commissioners. I wanted to thank Attorney Stevens for the proposed ordinance regulating outdoor shooting ranges to ensure the safety, welfare, and quality of life for residents of Alamance County. For the record, I support Second Amendment rights as well as the rights of small business. I have a CWP, I'm a member of a shooting range, and I just recently completed the NRA's Range Development and Operations course. I paid for it with my own money and spent 2 days of my life doing it. It's an outline to success. It's designed to educate potential and current range owners and operators in identifying potential problems associated with range development, environmental issues, and safety. It also outlines developing a community relations program.
very few of the recommendations are being observed by the Rad Range owners. Many pro-Second Amendment groups include the following as one of the golden rules of gun safety: know your target and what is beyond it. This means observing your prospective area of fire before you shoot. Never fire in a direction in which there are people or any other potential for mishap. You think first and you shoot second. The members of this Rad Range deserve to know that it's not safe. They may not know that the berms are set up on the very fringe of their land, or that a miss or ricochet is traveling far away, destroying property and endangering lives. Just a few feet into the woods of an adjoining property 2 weeks ago with a Burlington Times reporter, we found a .223 bullet lodged backwards in a tree, along with other trees shot through with entry and exit wounds. A ricochet can send a bullet tumbling in any direction. The bullet is a .223 from an AR-15. In a previous meeting, another gun range owner stated concerns with Rad Range's use of their land. That range owns 218 acres. They accommodate 9 ranges, with the longest being 300 yards. This was a plea to commissioners to act so that one bad apple would not spoil the bunch. I'm afraid that's where we are. Rad's property is just over 23 acres and shaped irregularly with 7 or more sides, with a 500-yard range squeezed in on the edges. If Rad Range rejects these reasonable recommendations, it's because they don't own enough land to accommodate them. Many expensive life lessons have taught me that just because you can do something does not mean that you should. Rad has never spoken to the cause with concern or sought solutions, only denying its plausibility and that the community is on a witch hunt. By their own defiance and separation from the community, we have been at a standstill for years. In April last year, the newspaper reported an injury related to a negligent discharge during training at Rad. Without any protocols or police report, the victim walked away and admitted himself days later to Duke University with a penetrating wound. The range doesn't have adequate designs, side berms, backstops, or shooting houses to eliminate escapement of projectiles, whether deliberate, accidental, or negligent. Thank you guys for taking the time to advise this, and please include some residents that are knowledgeable about the gun range when you do put together a commission. Thank you.
Okay, James Tate is next.
The previous speaker lives across the street
Not
from the
in the
gun
adjoining
range.
room or anything.
So it looks like there's quite a few people that are showing up. It must be an overflow
Paige
room.
Sharp will be next. All right, we'll skip to Paige Sharp. No Paige Sharp.
Yeah, she's
She's here.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Following Ms. Sharp will be Gerald Long. He's already spoke, did speak. Sean Sorrentino, did I pronounce that correctly? Please, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Paige Sharp, and I live at 18. Microphone? Oh, there it is.
Just be closer.
I live at 1873 Jim Barnwell Road. I want to start by stating that myself and my family own guns. We proudly support the Second Amendment, and that being said, I also believe that with those rights come responsibility to ensure the safety of others. Our family has lived here since before the Rad Range opened, and we've never had any serious concerns until now. During the week of December 16th through the 24th, we found a stray bullet in our driveway just 2 feet from our front door. At the last meeting, we spoke about ricochets. We've heard ricochets before all around our property, and it's unsettling, but finding a bullet so close to your home has taken that fear to another level. Every time I step outside, I find myself wondering, is today the day that something happens? The possibility of someone getting hurt is no longer just a worry. It feels like a reality. We're just inching closer to with every incident. As a mom and a grandmother, it's terrifying. I understand and respect the role of gun ranges in our community. However, safety has to be the top priority. Thank you for your time.
And we thank you. Mrs. Sorrentino, Joseph Shuford is next.
Hello, I'm Sean Sorrentino. I'm the Vice President of Operations for Grassroots North Carolina. We would really like to know why the first thing we heard about it is when one of our members said, hey, there's something going on in Alamance County. When you're doing something related to firearms, you probably should get in touch with the firearms organization in North Carolina. We spoke with our lawyer, and we asked him a few questions about your ordinance. And if I can scroll to the right place, he wanted to point out that in the very most recent, one of the overrides recently, the North Carolina General Assembly has made it illegal for you guys to downgrade a property by use of zoning.
We do not have countywide zoning.
Okay, well, what you're doing by changing the rules on a gun range has the effect of changing the zoning. That's what the law says. That's what the current law is. We would like it if you would contact us and talk to us about what you're planning on doing when it's about firearms, when it's about firearms owners. We can't react to this. We can't solve problems. We can't be part of the problem if we don't hear about it. So you have my phone number and you have my email address. I'll make sure to send the email so that you have it. Please contact us. Let us know what you're doing so that we don't come to this where we're all arguing about it in a meeting. Thank you very much.
And we thank you. Would point out, all of your telephone numbers are listed, and we'll give a copy of this to our Mr. Stevens, our county attorney. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Shuford, and my home is 606 Hillsborough Road, Carborough, North Carolina. I'm an attorney at Fox Rothschild, and I'm here speaking on behalf of my clients, Howard and Patricia Dunn, who live at 2077 Jim Barnwell Road, Burlington, North Carolina. First, I want to thank you all for acting quickly to get this ordinance out in response to urgent safety concerns raised by your constituents. At the last meeting, you heard from many folks about the serious danger they face and continue to face from bullets leaving at least 2 different range properties. You heard your constituents ask for help and are responding, and I know my clients and others are extremely grateful to you for making safety a priority. Second, my clients, like many folks here supporting this ordinance, are pro-gun and pro-safety. They own guns and they like to shoot them, but they don't want to be placed in physical danger while walking around in their yards. They just want to be on their property without fear of being hit by a stray bullet. And I think this ordinance, and you heard from folks here, that this ordinance provides some common sense safety provisions that my clients strongly support. This ordinance says that shooting ranges have to have backstops and berms or barriers designed to prevent projectiles from leaving the property. That's common sense safety. This ordinance says that no one can recklessly or carelessly shoot a firearm in disregard of the safety of others. Again, common sense safety. And this ordinance says that a shooting range has to ensure that bullets stay on his property. That's also common sense safety. My clients are looking for an ordinance that provides this type of common sense safety requirements, but they don't want an ordinance telling them or anyone else which guns they can own or which guns they can possess. So I think it's important to highlight what this ordinance does not do. This ordinance does not apply to hunting, lawful defense, or law enforcement training. This ordinance doesn't legislate anything about the types of guns that can be shot at a shooting range. And this ordinance doesn't tell folks which guns they can or cannot own or possess. And my last point is that the danger to my clients and their neighbors is ongoing. Since the last meeting, bullets from Rad Range keep coming into their property and neighboring properties without their permission. They need an ordinance or they need an ordinance like this one or another safety ordinance just like it, and they need it soon. We appreciate you all and urge you to keep working on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fargus, Thomas Fargus.
Okay, that's the
After that,
attorney. Now, this is this is the pastor of Deep Creek Baptist Church.
My name's Tommy Fargus. I live at 1907 Deep Creek Church Road. I pastor Deep Creek Baptist Church at 1753 Deep Creek Church Road. I want to start off by saying that since last time I was here and spoke, I've had several of the fine Rad Range supporters call, cuss me, threaten me. One called and said, after cussing me for a while, said that he would rape my wife and me watch, and then he would beat me. Number one, he's not man enough. Number two, I practice my Second Amendment rights, and I want these Rad Range folks to know you're treading in the wrong direction when you threaten me. I stand up for the community. We didn't move to your pitfall. Y'all moved into our nice neighborhood, and you're ruining it. Our people deserve to be able to sit on the front porch and enjoy their evening. We deserve to be able to sit in our church and have service and not hear gunfire. We can't have Sunday night service because all you hear, it sounds like Vietnam out there. Now, they may think it's funny, but I guarantee you most of them don't live at it. The smirks and so forth, I see you. But you don't have to put up with it at your house. We have to put up with it at ours. And now the safety part of it. When I have to go out the door and look around to see which one of the clowns is going to be the first to try something. It's getting old, people. The job of these people are to protect us. The deputies cannot come and sit in my driveway day and night. They can't come and stay in my house at night. But I promise you this, Smith & Wesson does, and his friend Ruger. And it's time for all this to stop. It's rude, it's obnoxious. I don't have degrees on noise control. I don't have patents, and I don't have all these other sophisticated things bragged about tonight. But I have a house that we can't go outside and enjoy anymore. I have a church that when we have activities outside, we have to watch to make sure a bullet's not going to fly our way, to make sure our elderly people and our kids are safe. Our people would love to be able to come and enjoy the activities at church without it sounding like on MASH when all the bombs is going off and all the guns. It's time to stop and have respect for the Deep Creek community. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Wow.
Mr. Ward, after Scott,
Sir?
Jason,
Sir? That's 30 minutes, sir.
I'm sorry.
That's
Okay.
30 minutes.
Scott, you're the last one not to be heard from.
They've almost met their allotment, so we're going to let him speak.
Hold on one second, don't start his timer. I'm just asking.
Go ahead.
There's been times, prior Board of Education member, we extended some time just because there were so many people involved in a certain issue. This is a really hot topic. Would you be willing just to kind of give a little bit more time?
That's up to the mayor.
Please.
Are you making a motion?
Oh, yeah, yes.
I second that.
Please.
A motion and a second. All
Thank
in
you, John.
favor of extending time, not the 3 minutes, but the total 30-minute time slot, signify by saying aye.
Thank you.
It's unanimous.
So they're going to extend the typical
Well, I'm going to give you,
3 minute, 30
I'm going to
minute
give you a
time.
break. I have absolutely nothing to say on the ordinance. Commissioners, I served this board for about 20 years. I provided technical support starting around 2005, and I retired last month. And I was actually hoping to say something last meeting, didn't work out. That's okay. So I'm here to say thank you. I want to thank this board, even though I only knew a couple of you for a meeting or two, but also previous boards. It has been an absolute honor to serve the people of Alamance County. There's not a lot of positions as a county wonk where you can do something that potentially impacts all 184 odd thousand citizens. And being a person who produces these meetings that connects citizens to their elected leaders, to me is one of the greatest things that I've ever had the opportunity to be a part of. And I would not have had that opportunity if it weren't for former Commissioner Ann Vaughn, who came up to me at her second meeting and said, "I want this on TV." And I said, "Sure." I had absolutely no idea how to do it. But we had it going by 2008, and ever since then, we've connected the people with the board. I now have handed those responsibilities off to two fine men in the other room, Joe and Mike, and I have full confidence in them. But I do thank the board for the opportunity to serve you. I look forward to being up here as a citizen, to telling you what I really think about all of you, especially you, Ed. Your ad's telling me to shake your hand. Don't you know that's how the koof is spread? But I do thank you. It has honestly been the honor of a lifetime to serve this board, and to more importantly serve the people of Alamance County. So thank you.
Yeah. He seemed to be a nice guy. I met him a couple of times. And Vaughn, he mentioned her. He was
Two men to replace you, Scott.
two men.
Not only did it take two men to replace you, but he kept me out of trouble with my cell phone, my iPad, my everything, and his doctor, Scott Ward, by the way.
It is.
So we want to sincerely thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, he mentioned Ann Vaughn. She taught our psychology class at Western Elements High School back in the day. I mean, it's neat he mentions her. I remember she was a
I cannot
county
read
commissioner.
this handwriting. Jason.
Heard that before.
Jason somebody couldn't read his handwriting.
So I live at
State your name.
2527, Jason Rubin.
Right.
I live at 2527. It's the closest house to the range. And I just want to say the noise is not bad. The levels of it are low. It doesn't affect my cell phone service or my GPS. It doesn't rattle the dishes off my wall. My dog doesn't even hear it. But I'll tell you what does bother my dog. A plane repeatedly flying around my house doing loops and loops and loops and stalling it and turning the engines back on. And that's just a problem. And people should be able to harass people with a plane. And that's basically it. So,
Oh,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
that's getting pretty.
Don Foster, and then the next name is Robert Elvis. Thank you.
Yeah, this is getting pretty heated at times. People are really,
Mr. Foster?
really pointing out certain things, and
For tonight.
All right.
That's
Thank
me,
you.
but I didn't sign it to talk.
Mr.
Yeah.
Elvis. Following, Mr. Elvis, Paige Sharp.
wow.
You already testified.
A lot of people showed up tonight, and a lot of people are speaking
After that would
their
be-
minds. So,
Something Allred. I cannot-
Dwayne.
Thank you.
oh, this is the guy from school.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Robert Alvis. I live in Graham, and I'm also a teacher at Williams High School. I'm not here to speak at you tonight about the gun range. I had three things I wanted to talk about. First is I wanted to welcome Kelly Allen to the board. I'll be honest, I'm sad to see Craig Turner leave. I think he was an excellent commissioner. But Kelly, I think that you were an excellent choice to fill his place, so we're glad to see you join. And I say that also on behalf of the organization. I represent the Alamance Burlington Association of Educators. I also wanted to thank the County Commission for your collaboration with the school system, especially with regards to school facilities. I've seen a lot of growth in that over the past years, and especially the 6 months previously. Teaching at Williams High School, I'm sure that you're familiar with the HVAC renovations that have happened there. I'm happy to say that we are seeing progress there, and that for the first time in my 9 years of teaching, my classroom feels like a comfortable place to teach in. And that's here in the wintertime, now that we're not relying on 50-year-old radiators for the heating of our classroom. So I appreciate that and can see the benefits. There's still work to be done, not only at my school, but at other schools too. But I'm encouraged by that progress, and know that the County Commission has a role in that. So I want to thank you for that progress. Also just say that I observed too, as a part of the Alamance County Strategic Plan, education is a core pillar of that, and would just ask that the Commission remember that and keep that as a priority in the upcoming budget cycle, which will be happening sooner than you know it. So thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
Nice and very complimentary. Oh, this, yeah.
Mr. Alvis, following you, Paige Sharp has already spoke. Dwayne Aldridge will be next.
He's on the podium.
All right, Mr. Aldridge. The last speaker after that is Mr. Barker.
Good evening. My name is Dwayne Allred. I live at 2302 Cooper Road, Graham. My great aunt, Cornelia Talley, lives at 2627 Fawcett Lane. Her property is directly behind the approximate 150-yard range ballpark. Again, I've told you this in the past, that direct fire is coming over to my aunt's property. Whether I mow, whether I hunt, whether I fish, there are live rounds coming over there. A few weeks ago, Keith Barber from the Times News approached me, asking if I would be willing to comment. I said yes. Me and Mr. Terry and Mr. McKenzie went out to my aunt's property. I was showing the reporter what was going on, my concerns, and if I can approach. This is the round that we found. That is a round from a 223, and we found it in a tree. That is a round that could potentially hit me, hit my aunt, hit my children. It could maybe just wound me, or it could kill me. I'm asking Rad Range. I am a member of the Durham Pistol Rifle Club. I have shot with Mr. Henshaw. I am a Second Amendment pro-gun Alamance County resident. I'm asking for help. Rudy, build the berms up. He says he's willing to work, but there's residents here that has tried to work with him. He's not working with them. They have reached out and touched base with him. He in Rad Range is the problem. I'm not talking about sound. I'm talking about live rounds that are going to hit somebody and kill somebody. If I was the owner of that business, I would be willing to talk to my neighbors and say, hey, what can I do to help? If you help your neighbors, you're willing to get more business in. It's common sense. I don't know how much more proof he needs to understand that the rounds are coming over. I'm not talking about a 50 BMG. I'm talking about 223, 5.56, 7.62, 7 millimeter. A machine gun being fired. How many rounds of that when that gun is going off and lifting? It's going to lose. On the proposed ordinance on Section 4, Design and Construction, for safety features, who decides backstops and berms are adequate enough? Is it going to be a third-party safety gun range, or is it going to be a sheriff's department? Please fix this, or rounds are going to keep on coming over, and I'm going to get killed.
Thanks, sir. And our last speaker.
I'll get it.
Thanks.
It was Dwayne Allred. I need to interview him. This guy lives off of Pagetown Road, I believe.
My name is Stephen Barker. I'm at 6515 Pagetown Road, Burlington. It is not to be confused with the Rad Range. I have my own special problem where I am. There's a privately owned property that's only acre and a half, and they began shooting south of my home. It's been numerous events, and the owner has used it solely for the purpose of a gun shooting range. He has invited 9 persons to shoot with him on one occasion. This is less than 1,000 feet from my home. It's a huge safety issue and a noise disturbance. About 6 weeks ago, they shot over 1,000 rounds. They have shot across the property line. They've used my property as a berm, damaging over 3 dozen of my trees. Most of the shots were eastward, but some are northbound in a direction of my storage building. My home could also be in jeopardy by this carelessness. And the weekend of the 1,000 rounds, my satellite dish was even knocked out. Whether that but it's ironic that it happened that same day. I've read the county shooting range ordinance proposed, and I appreciate the consideration bringing something forward. It's difficult to battle these 10 people that come in to shoot, which I don't know who they are, and they may be violent. I just don't know, but it's a major problem, and I need help from the county. I even placed orange tape on the over 3 dozen trees that were damaged, so that they would have knowledge if they came back that they were probably doing something they shouldn't, and they showed up and they began shooting immediately, disregarding the orange tape. And I'd just like to say again, I need help from the county, and please carefully review the proposed shooting ordinance. Hopefully it'll be in a positive light, or take a good portion of it, because I need assistance from the county. I know Sheriff Johnson's tried to help me, and I appreciate all your help. Have a good day.
Thank you. The last speaker, and a couple of the commissioners are asking me for a 5-10 minute recess. So we're going to take a very, very, very short recess. County commissioners will likely comment at the end of our meeting. So if you want to stay and hear those comments, you're welcome. If you'd like to leave, you're welcome to do that. Thank you. We're in recess.
Well, you see that there's a lot of people standing up and speaking for the need of improvement to the gun range. You also see people there who are don't want their First Amendment rights and their Second Amendment rights in any way infringed. And so you have to ask yourself, what is the right thing to do? You don't want your guns. You don't want people shooting across into your property. I mean, that last speaker. I mean, they're using his trees, I guess, for a berm and for protection. So you have to ask yourself, what do you want to do? What are you expecting from this ordinance? And I need to have Dwayne Allred on and interview him. I've told him I was going to. I need to get in touch with him because he was one of the ones that spoke at the last meeting. And, like he said, he is a pro-gun guy, but he wants berms. He wants protection. He doesn't want to jeopardize the life of his aunt, of his self, or his children. And so therefore you've got to find some type of middle ground. And I'm not sure exactly what that is. I'm going to take a 5-minute break as well, and I'll be back in just a moment. All right, I'm back, and after taking just a quick break, and it's interesting. What do you think about the ones who have spoken thus far? I remember the Hicks man spoke. He spoke. Mr. Hicks spoke in the last meeting. He spoke in this meeting, and he was talking about how the gun range was impacting his life, and talking about it rattling certain portions of the house. And then this other guy gets up there. I can't remember his name. Scared to mention his name. I might get it wrong. But he talked about it didn't bother him living that close. I just find that hard to believe. But maybe he can deal with it. Maybe it's not a big deal to him. Maybe he loves it, and that's good. If he does, that's great. But Pastor Fargus of Deep Creek Baptist Church, he when he was speaking and telling them that they couldn't have services out there without concern. I'm not sure what he does about Sunday night. I'm not sure if they've canceled Sunday night or if they have it or what. But there is some concern in the community of people and their safety, and I think that's warranted to a point. The question is, the issue is, a range needs to provide the safety to prevent projectiles, whatever that may be, from leaving the range, whatever that may be. And so I'm not sure how the county is going to proceed forward with this. I know they must have received a lot of pushback from people to table this ordinance, or maybe they wanted to hear what the people were saying. But they're still in a recess here, so we'll come back to that in just a moment. But it's an interesting issue. It's something to think about. If you were living near a gun range and you had the perpetual sound of gunfire, or you found projectiles in trees. And, I interviewed Rudy, and Rudy has a right to have a business. The question is like some of these other people have brought up, is it safe for the community? Is it good for the community? And just at this point, it just depends on who you ask. I think everybody has sort of dug their heels in, and now this is turning into something a little different. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen as far as the ordinance when they start evaluating it and looking into it. But I guess we'll see. But I think that may have concluded the comment section of that. Be interested to see exactly what happens next. But I know they're also going into some type of a closed session to discuss this. So I'm sure they want input from the community. And I'm sure even now at this point, while they're going into the recess, you have to go basically by everybody to take your break, use the restroom, stretch your legs, whatever. So when the commissioners walk down, if they're walking down, they're going to come into contact with people who are sitting out there, people who are going to want their ear. And so they're not going to be back in probably 5 minutes. Like they said, it's probably going to take a little bit of time. And so we'll see exactly how long that time is. But it looks like maybe it's going to be a little bit of an extended period. But what do you think? What do you think about the comments that are being made, both for and against? I know we have a lot of people in Alamance County who are pro Second Amendment. They love shooting guns. They don't want that infringed, and I'm one of those people. At the same time, you have to ask yourself, would you like to live near one? I think the pastor made a good point. Now, that one guy lives out there. It doesn't bother him, but I think it would bother me. But we don't live out there, so you have to ask yourself, what would you do in a situation or circumstance like this? You had to have cool heads, because this is not a game. These are real bullets that could really injure or hurt someone. And I tell you, I think I would be hesitant as well of someone going outside if we had projectiles or bullets leaving the range. That's and when Dwayne Allred brought the shell casing or whatever it was up there, that's pretty serious, and something that you want to look into. You want to evaluate and to say, hey, this could really cause a problem for someone. So I don't know. What do you think about it? And I guess the commissioners, you got 5 of them. You got Ed Priola, you got Steve Carter, you got John Paisley and Kelly Allen and Pam Thompson, and all 5 of them they'll have to make a decision on how to progress. Now, I'm going to tell you, I have actually spoken to one commissioner who actually had read the ordinance, and they were actually going to vote for it. I won't tell you who that commissioner is, but they told me they were going to vote for it. So probably a little bit of a relief when Commissioner Carter, and I'm sure they talked about this before they got up there. Carter said, "I'll be the one to mention it. I'll be the one to bring up the issue of tabling this ordinance discussion." So Commissioner Carter brought it up, and the ordinance was tabled, I believe, by unanimous decision by the county commissioners, all five, Steve, Ed, John, Kelly, and Pam, all were willing to table it and to discuss it after they had had a little bit more input, potentially from those sitting out there before them, and also maybe getting a little bit more legal advice. I'm not sure who this gentleman was from I think he said he was from the Grassroots, North Carolina. I think his name was Joseph, if I'm not mistaken. He came up there from Grassroots, North Carolina. I'm not sure exactly what Grassroots, North Carolina is involved in. It sounds like if it's a grassroots, that tells you it's a group from from people like us. It's not it's not a group that was some elite group. It's a grassroots. It's people like us. It's talking to one another and encouraging one another and understanding exactly what's going on. So he said it came to his attention, and I'm looking it up right now. I want to see let me see. Yeah, Grassroots, North Carolina. So they're a nonprofit, of course. The facts they've got on their website, Grassroots North Carolina Forum. Oh, for firearms education Grassroots North Carolina Forum for Firearms Education is a nonprofit all-volunteer organization devoted to educating the public about trends which abridge the freedoms guaranteed by the Bill of Rights and engaging in grassroots activism to preserve those freedoms. The Grassroots North Carolina Remember in November project uses objective candidate evaluation criteria, specifically voting records, survey scores, and bill sponsorship to estimate a percentage of gun-related issues on which each candidate agrees with a control group of conservative gun owners. Voting records are weighted more heavily than surveys. So this is a group that obviously focuses in the area of gun rights, and they make sure that they identify those who do not vote accordingly. And they then apparently alert the grassroots group about who is pro Second Amendment and who is not, who is pro gun and who is not, who's voted in a way that that continues to ensure that your gun rights are not infringed upon, and those who are voting who saying, hey, okay, so here they return back. Let's go back
down to the consent agenda. Previously modified 5E is no longer on the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Is this where I do the thing?
No. Second.
Thank you. Get up here with me and help me. Okay, just look at me.
Yeah, I will.
Sorry.
We have a motion second to approve the amended consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Now I do it.
No, not yet.
I would like for Thomas to be my proxy.
Now we're sure Pam waiting to do it. We'll see in just a moment.
Now, we're going to take as item number 1, which is now 6A, item number 5E, previously.
I need F too. E and F are both Governor's Crime Commission.
That's already been approved.
F has already been approved.
Did you just pull a fast one on me?
No.
Okay. I'm not gonna vote. I'm not gonna.
Okay.
To the extent that it passed 5-0, so I don't know that there's really an issue anyway. Even if you'd recused yourself, it still would have passed.
Stop.
I'm trying to make you feel better.
Well, Thomas is trying to help me too.
Okay.
So,
Okay, well now.
It just ain't working, right, Pam?
it's not.
She's talking about stepping aside for the Governor's Crime Commission vote, and
That's gonna be your
Apparently that
primary
vote took
article
place.
Thursday, for a good intention.
Yeah.
Ms. Thompson, you have a motion to be,
Oh, now, okay. Dang, I feel like I just gave my kidney. I want to be recused from 5E and 5F simply because I sit on the North Carolina Governor's Crime Commission, and that is concerning funding for the Family Justice Center, which I am a tremendously big fan of. So that's it.
thank you. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I have a point of order. I just got back from the training session with for UNC School of Government for new commissioners, and we were told that we had an obligation to vote.
That is
And-
correct.
And if it were a public body recognized and established by the state of North Carolina, a unit of government, that we weren't allowed to recuse ourselves.
Unless
You
you're gonna
are- if you have a
benefit
financial
financially.
benefit
Do you have an individual financial benefit, is that what you're saying?
to you
Or
or
a
your
family.
family.
Okay. And that, yeah, I just wanted to clarify it, not to object.
Mr. Stevens, we're gonna call on you. Ms. Thompson, do you get paid for being on that commission?
No, I do not, but our former interim attorney, Deborah, told me that she advised me to not take part in that vote. I mean, you're gonna have 4. I don't see why you need me. I just don't wanna have the appearance of doing anything to, I just don't. I'm just real picky about that. And, they'll tell you these things when you go to these trainings, but when it's a personal ethic, I think I have a right to ask.
Certainly you have a right to ask. Mr. Stevens.
In addition to the self-benefit issue, there's also a prohibition on a board member voting for a nonprofit funding in a situation where that board member is also on the board of the nonprofit. Now, recognizing the GCC is not a nonprofit, so that doesn't necessarily apply. That's the other thing we have to look out for. I think this is a board decision. The board can certainly take under advisement Mr. Priola's assertion that it may not be proper for her to recuse herself from this vote.
Mr. Stevens, I'm not objecting to it. I'm looking for clarification.
Yeah, to clarify, I think those two issues are the ones we need to be careful for, right? So self-dealing and dealing on behalf of nonprofits where the person has an interest. I don't think either of those comes into play here, but I'm also sensitive to commissioners' feelings about not wanting to be perceived as having self-dealt. So I just leave that in the auspices of the board to decide.
And as the chair, I would note that the statewide and our procedure indicates a non-vote without the board voting to recuse her would be a yes vote.
That's correct, yes.
Do we have a second to Ms. Thompson's motion?
I'll second that.
All right.
Oh.
A motion and a second. All in favor of her motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. Simply because of procedure. I am I am very, very sympathetic to your reasoning and cause, but I think it's not a nonprofit and you don't get paid to be on the board. I apologize.
Well, just remember that every time these had this type of situation, I have not voted. Mr. Turner was very supportive of that. So if that's the way you want to play, that's fine. But I just don't think that I should be voting on something.
Did
that
they
I
do
served
2 to
on
2?
in Raleigh. But it's okay. It's whatever you want to do.
Well, it passes because we have more yays than nays.
Okay.
And therefore, you, at this point, are not gonna enter into conversation for this vote.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
so
Thank you.
they did honor her
Board, I
request.
suggest we allow her to remain seated, but just not enter the conversation. Is that agreeable?
Yes.
Thank you.
Last
Okay.
time they asked her to step aside, I think.
5E, Sky Sullivan, thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Sky Sullivan. I'm the Director of the Family Justice Center of Alamance County. county department, and we are applying for 2 grants under the Governor's Crime Commission. 6E is the VOCA Victims of Crime Act grant application, and I'm here to answer any questions you have.
And 6F has already passed, by the way.
Yes, 6F was the VAWA grant application, which is a position the Family Justice Center and the Sheriff's Office shares, and we have been receiving grant funding for that position since 2018.
Correct. I just wanted you to know it had already passed.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I had a question about your 5E grant application. I had several questions. And one, I'm concerned about what appears to be discriminatory language. When you say that you're in the grant, that your focus is to serve an, quote, other than white population, to my thinking, that's pretty controversial. It sounds like conditional racism. Can you address that?
Sure. So there's a section of the grant application where we have to identify the target population, the population of Alamance County, and who we would serve with the grant. So we pull statistics from the Department of Justice, the North Carolina, or the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and the Census Bureau. So that, in quotations, was pulled from the Census Bureau. This application is specifically underserved population, so we have to prove anybody who would be considered an underserved population, which they have a list of.
And you use the term Latinx.
Yes, sir.
And you attribute it to the Census Bureau.
So Latinx actually comes directly from the request for proposal. So we collect these statistics as Hispanic, Latino, Latina, or Latinx, and just use the verbiage that matches the RFP so that we're competitive in the grant application.
Well, you're aware that the Census Bureau does not use Latinx.
I was not, however, that is the category that is listed in the grant RFP, and this comes from the federal government and the North Carolina Crimes Commission, which is the Department of Public Safety.
Okay. And then would you please comment on the cultural appropriateness of the term? When Pew Research states that only 3% of Hispanic Latino individuals prefer it.
Yes, so I am mirroring the language that's in the RFP so that we're competitive. So the folks that are scoring these applications are looking for the same language that's in this RFP that goes out for the grant applications. So I just mirror so that we're competitive.
Okay. And then finally, we talk about one of your essential partners, one of 2. It's called, help me out here, Comunidad.
Centro La Comunidad.
Yeah, thank you, right. And this organization is part of the Raleigh Catholic Charities Network. It's an affiliate. It's also part of the Catholic Charities Network in the San Antonio and border area that was flying illegal aliens around the country with FEMA dollars. In fact, a lot of folks don't know that the Catholic Charities Organization Network receives $640 billion a year in federal funding to fly illegal aliens around the country. And with several witnesses reporting to me confidentially, they have been flown here to Alamance County. I'm concerned that this is another part of the treadmill, the conveyor belt, for bringing illegal aliens to Alamance County, of which some of them are criminal elements. Can you address that, please?
Good question, Ed.
Yeah, sure. That is not something that I have intimate knowledge on. For our purposes for the grant, they do not receive any grant funds. For the grant, they are just a partner that we make referrals to for victims, specifically for VAWA visas. So these are visas that victims of interpersonal violence, so human trafficking mainly, but domestic violence, sexual assault, elder abuse, or child abuse, if they are married to a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, may apply for. And that is what we make the referral for. Last year, we made 18 referrals to Centro.
This is a partner that an organizational partner that you describe as essential, an essential partner, one of 2, correct?
Essential for the category, which is underserved populations of crime.
Other than white populations.
Specifically the Latino or Hispanic population.
Then lastly, I noticed that during the research for this particular piece of legislation, that this kind of aligns with your social justice and equity lens in your strategic plan for 2024-25. I wasn't aware of that equity lens being adopted in the county by units of government. Can you tell me where that is sourced so I can figure out how you can claim to look through things through an equity lens?
So the Family Justice Center is made up of a partnership. We have 12 partner agencies on site, but about another 27 that we work with on a regular basis. We went through strategic planning in 2020. We were awarded a grant to pay for an outside facilitator to facilitate that community dialogue on the strategic plan of the Family Justice Center. So it's Family Justice Center as an entity and Family Justice Center kind of as a movement or a strategic plan for the community. So our partners came up with the verbiage that went into the strategic plan, and that was adopted. It's a 5-year plan, so it does expire this year.
So if I get it right, there's no statutory authority for that language.
No, our strategic plan is based off of what our partners, so this is Alamance County local, so this includes like our judges, our elected clerk of court, our other elected officials like the DA, sheriff's office, our chiefs of police, all of the major partners on making sure what we do at the Family Justice Center is successful. So we had
Wow.
representatives from each of those
Unbelievable.
agencies on the strategic planning committee back in 2020.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Wow, I cannot believe that.
Ms. Thompson?
I'm good.
Ms. Allen?
Fine, she can't talk anyway.
No, that's right, sorry.
To clarify, I think she can ask questions. I don't think she can wait on the conversation.
That's just such a comment right there. She can't talk.
Those were some good questions by Ed. I think the language, he is exactly right. It's very,
Job of going
uh,
through the application. Well, the one question I had, kind of a technical question, and I asked our county manager, and she wasn't sure of the answer herself. But as I was reading it, every category of your response, well, not every category, the first three, and I think one near the bottom, went, obviously the language extended beyond the window in which the item was printed, so I have no idea what else was being said. And my concern obviously was that if when they put a limit on the number of characters in that box, if it ends in a word that's obviously not at the end of a sentence, is the rest of it even being considered by the approving agency?
Yes, so I looked back at what was downloaded, and the printer version that comes out of the grant portal did that itself. So there was very few words after the boxes where it cut off.
But they do appear in what goes to the agency?
Say it again?
The language, the full language that's in your answer.
It
on the
will go to,
application,
yes, to the
full-
printer.
Okay, good.
this grant is full of discriminatory language, it sounds like. That is
Also
unacceptable. That's
asking
unbelievable.
For a county match of $173,566.60.
No, so this grant requires a 25% match. Actually, no, I'm sorry. The other grant requires a 25% match. This grant does not require a match.
In our write-up, it says,
I didn't think that one required a match.
My recollection is that it did require a match in the write-up.
yeah, write-up says, question grant funding in the amount of $250,000 with a local county match of $173,566.60 dash well over the 30% match requirement. Is that fact, fiction, or where are we?
May I see that?
Sure.
Now, while they're doing that, handing this information off,
Yeah, the one I'm looking at is what Sky is saying, that there is no county match. That's on the cover sheet.
For IT. Sorry, that is for
Correct.
the IT department, not the Family Justice Center.
okay, there is no county match.
Thank you.
That was 5G that you're referencing, Chairman.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Board, any other questions?
If I could, the only other thing I'd like to add is that We are at the Family Justice Center are trying to diversify our funding so that we don't put as much of a burden with the growth of the Family Justice Center and the increased demand for services back on the citizens of Alamance County. So we frequently look for opportunities with federal grant funds, state dollars. We also have some sponsorships that occur for our Camp Hope program. So we bring in these funds to kind of diversify where our funding is coming from and to meet the growing needs. And for this specific grant, we have always, I believe since 2009 or 2012, I'd have to double check, received Governor's Crime Commission funding because of the cuts to the Victims of Crime Act, where in 2018, the state received $103 million for Victims of Crime Act. In 2025, the entire state is now receiving less than $16 million in Victims of Crime Act. And so our funding categories went from 10 categories to 4 to 2 this year. So the 2 categories are basic services for your community-based domestic violence, sexual assault, child advocacy centers, and human trafficking organizations, which we are not, and underserved victims of crime. So if we wanted to continue bringing in outside funding from the Governor's Crime Commission, it was the only category for VOCA that we could apply for.
Do we have a motion as to this item?
I move to reject the grant proposal.
Do we have a second as to that motion? If we have no motion to approve it, then it fails on its face anyway. So before your motion, I would ask, do we have a motion to approve it? Okay? Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on.
Wow, that's pretty good. I'm surprised the county
If
commissioners,
there's no motion and second, it fails.
yeah, it failed.
Okay, 6B, and Matthew, you're next.
It's interesting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, Commissioners. My name is Matthew Hoagland. I'm the Alamance County Planning Director, and I am before you tonight because we have a vacancy on the Planning Board. During your December 16th, 2024 meeting, you appointed 5 individuals to serve new terms on the Alamance County Planning Board. However, after being appointed, 1 individual turned down their appointment, which immediately created a vacancy on the board. When such a vacancy occurs, the Planning Board Rules of Procedure instruct me to notify the clerk to the board and to make all existing applications available in order for you to fill the vacancy. As a result, the following 6 applicants are available for you tonight to fill 1 vacancy. Those applicants are Natalie Thacker of the Graham Township, Jeffrey Stevens of the Melville Township, Brandon Martin of the Boone Station Township, Anthony Pierce of the Melville Township, John Mack Jordan Jr. of the Thompson Township, and Max Morgan of the Melville Township. A few other additional notes worth considering. Unlike the December meeting, in which you appointed individuals for new terms, tonight's filling of a vacancy did not call for a planning board recommendation, and so I do not have a recommendation to present for you tonight. Appointing any of the available applicants will also not violate the requirement that no more than 2 planning board members represent any single township, and the term of whoever you appoint tonight will expire on December 31st, 2027. Thank you.
Did we make motions or we talk about it?
Both. Do we have a motion?
I do.
Well, I was gonna
She's
say-
gonna-
Can I go first? Just,
Oh, we
Yep.
can still have discussion after.
Okay, good.
Well,
Well,
go ahead.
one
Go
of them
ahead.
go.
I would like to nominate Anthony Pierce.
Well, that's what I was gonna do.
Okay. I'll wait till discussion. I'd like
Beg
to
pardon?
nominate, I'll wait till are we discussing it
Yeah,
now?
I'd also like to nominate John
That's what I
Mack
was getting
Jordan
ready to
Jr.
Okay.
I was getting ready to make a motion, is what I was trying to say. I'm sorry, a nomination.
So we have 2 names, I guess, for discussing.
So, which one did you say?
Mack Jordan.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, Mack.
Okay.
I think he had a great education, listing for John Jordan Jr.
All right, speak into the mic.
Oh, sorry. I
Yeah,
think
it's hard
he
to hear
had,
you. Yeah, thank you.
From what he turned in, I think he sounded like he had great references, education-wise, to be put on the planning zoning.
Yeah, Matt Jordan, I've known him since he was a squirt, and I prefer to, the Jordans are friends of mine. I can't say enough nice things about him.
Grew up down there with you, near you, right?
Yeah, I'll tell him I called him that. But I'm just, with Anthony Pierce, was also ran for commissioner, and 3 of us were Republicans, and he and 2 others ran for Democrat. And I would never, ever want this board to get that in the way of anything. Anthony has served this community for right many years on stuff like that, and I just think he's a super nice guy. He's got EMS background. He's done good. He's not. You don't want everybody on the committee that all feels the same way. I just don't think that's healthy. We need different opinions, and you take the best from both those opinions and make something great into it. So that's my motion for Anthony. I stand with that, and you can call the vote or whatever you want to do.
All right, and you were nominating Matt Jordan.
Right, so, and you got a second for your nomination, I think.
You had a second for Matt Jordan?
I did for Matt Jordan.
Yeah. All right.
John, do you no seconds, so we don't do anything with Anthony? Nothing.
If there's no second, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Before the vote, comments. Any comment?
I'm in favor of Mac Jordan.
All right, Mr. Carter.
I was gonna make the nomination for Mike.
All right.
And I had already commented.
And Ms. Thompson?
I called him a squirt, so.
So they're nominated
But
on the planning
I know
board.
him. I mean, you can't ask.
And
him to
Anthony
vote.
Pierce was on it. They
I nominated
didn't
Anthony.
nominate him last
So he
time,
knows
and so
him.
they appointed someone
I'll
else,
support Mac. I've known him. I trust him.
and they didn't.
And,
They
the
didn't
work they've
take it, so
done
there was a
down at the mill,
vacancy.
Where my grandmother worked from 8th grade to 62 years old, they've totally turned that around, and that's a project.
So they're bringing up,
And
Pam brought up
examples of a lot
Anthony
of places
again
in
and
this county.
again. It did not
motion and a
pass,
second
or
for,
he didn't get a second, so.
John Mac Jordan Jr., all in favor of that name indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
So they appointed this Jordan fella, 5-0 unanimous, to the planning board. Which is, this deal with Anthony Pierce, who ran as a Democrat for county
Okay,
commissioner.
Resolution regarding tax delinquency, Mr. Stevens.
They've removed him.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This
last
is a
time.
resolution that I was asked to draft related to the obligation of appointed board members to remain current on their local property taxes. Identified that we didn't have such a resolution in the past. Other local governments around the state do have a similar resolution and requirement. So quite simply, the requirement is that any appointed board member has to be current on their local government property taxes, whether that's county or whether that's any municipality here in the county. And if passed tonight, they would apply to any newly appointed board members like Mr. Jordan as of tonight. Anyone who's currently serving would have 30 days to come into compliance. And by compliance, we mean that they either have made timely payments or they have a structured payment arrangement with the government to repay the delinquent taxes. So we don't mean to penalize somebody who perhaps has had some sort of a adverse life event but is making reparations with the government to pay back their taxes. And with that, I'll answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, you
but
should
it's,
make sure they're
fairly
current
straightforward, I think.
on their taxes before appointing them to a board.
Any board members have a question on this item?
Well, I don't have a question, but I think I was part of the group that made a request for this motion, or this resolution, and I think it's appropriate that if we have somebody who volunteers to serve, they're willing to serve the county, they need to be current on their obligations to the county, so.
And I also requested that change. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you, Board.
That's good.
Approval of the design build contract for the elderly service building, and Mr. Baker, I see approaching. We were hoping yours would be short enough you didn't have to.
It's gonna be right on the edge, but I'll be brief. Good evening, Commissioners. This item seeks approval for the contract for the design-build process for the elderly services building renovation, which will become the Development Services Center. We put out an RFQ for these services, so funding was approved last year. The use of a design-build process for this contract was also approved last year. So we put out an RFQ seeking firms to solicit bids for this, and we received 7 submissions to the RFQ, reviewed those carefully with a team here at the county, and chose Bobbitt Construction. So I do have with us tonight 2 representatives of Bobbitt, Chad Danforth and David Witzel. Thank you, not Weitzel, Witzel, in the back. I'm sure they would be available to answer any questions you might have about Bobbitt. But had a great presentation, feel great about the direction of that project with Bobbitt. And this contract was negotiated by Mr. Stevens. If you have any particular questions about the contract, but we'd just like to move forward with getting that project underway.
What's the
More
cost?
Questions?
On here?
I would just make a comment. They've done a lot of good work for Alamance County in the past. It's a good reputation. I don't think we'll be disappointed.
And we need to get this building
Amen.
done day before yesterday. Any other board members? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Unanimous.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Please know this has nothing to do with you. I just don't support the debt of this new courthouse addition.
Board, just a quick question. Who made the motion for that last
Oh, so
agenda
that's
item?
the courthouse
I think I
edition.
did.
Okay.
For the design build contract?
Yes.
And who was the second? I couldn't hear.
Mr. Carter,
Thank you.
if you didn't hear it because maybe,
No problem. Just trying to keep on
The
our
new
toes.
courthouse is going to be that $37 million approximate cost. It's going to add a
Okay.
1 cent tax increase to
County
your
attorney.
taxes 2026.
Ma'am, I suggest that we go through the other items before because you have a closed session.
You read my mind. I'll cede my time and go after everyone else.
All right. County manager,
Nothing to report, sir.
all right, best report all night.
Happy to provide that.
County commissioners,
Comments?
Ms. Thompson, I'll start on the end.
See what they say.
Okay. It's just, I want to say about the whole night tonight with all these folks that have come here. I really appreciate people showing up for whatever your cause is. It matters because you've got a voice. Don't ever lose your voice. And I've been a big supporter of law enforcement and EMS especially, and our fire departments out in the rural areas, what would we do without them, and our city fire departments. And I just want us to look at how the unpreparedness of California has just been horrible. And not having what they needed as far as preparing the forestry and all that, and what position it is put on firemen, firewomen, and all that. And I hope that we will look at that and realize that we never need to be short with EMS or our fire or our law enforcement, because we could have our own California one day. If we are not removed from it, I don't care what we think. It's just so important. And I know, talking about fires, just real quick, I mean, fire drills in schools, it's clockwork. You ring bell, you do this, you walk out the door, it's almost like a recess. They're so accustomed, and it's so common that we've just got that pattern with kids and teachers that they just do it, they go into motion. I know when I was teaching for junior achievement out at Pleasant Grove, I told y'all that I went through a stranger on campus thing, and it was sitting under a round table with a bunch of snaggletooth little second graders. Was unreal when I thought this 100-year-old wooden door was all that was keeping them from a shooter coming in. No school ever thought it would be them until it is. And I used to told Allison Gant when I was pushing for live shooter drills, I said, Allison, do you ever want to be on the news explaining why we were not prepared for this as a school system? So we started it, got some resistance, but we still did. And you don't hear about schools burning down, but you do hear about schools getting shut up. And with our rules, schools, the outliers, I'm not even gonna mention their names, that's a lot of response time to get there, and a lot of damage can be done. And we just have to really always focus on our first responders, because we are in a world right now where they are the MVPs of everything. And they need to be supported, they need to be paid well, and we need to make sure they're cared for. I can't imagine what the firemen and EMS and everything, what they're going to be, the depression rates. And I'm telling you, when you go through tragedies like this, it affects them because they wear it, they take it home with them. I just want us to always, to never ever forget that. And when I see folks in here with different ideas of whatever that is, Eric Henshaw that spoke is the one I took my Care and Conceal with. He's as sharp as they get. And he's very tolerant, because I just told him, I said, I really need to come back over there. And he looked at me like, you know, but they're just wonderful people. And I'm going back because I need to really not just have it, but really feel comfortable with it in my hand. That it's not a toy, and it's not just something you say you have. You need to be extremely careful and responsible. And I want that from my community. It breaks my heart to see side against side, but if we're not careful, we're going to get really dug in, and we're not going to be willing to move either way.
Afraid they already are.
Fiction that I work with, I tell everybody, you know, I said, I want you to think about your worst werewolf movie. You know, you see the special effects and they change and their claws come out. I said, that's what addiction is. It gets its claws in people, and it doesn't let go until you finally kind of kill it yourself and say no more. And that's what we got to do here in Alamance County, because we are a great community. And we have great people in our first responders. We need to honor them because they always go, but they can't be short, because you can't wait on them. You just really can't. And it's not a hobby. It's like our teachers. Teachers teaching it in a hobby. It's one of the greatest professions there is, because it creates everybody in this room. No education, where would we be? We see that all the time in really third world countries. So I'm just putting a plug out there for what we've been watching on TV, and how we can, the petty crap that I see people talk about to each other on the news. It's like, I just want my 5 minutes so I can be famous. Well, be famous for something amazing, not for being stupid. And so I just want to put a plug in for everybody that takes care of us and keeps us safe, and make sure that that's what they growed up to want to be, and that's what they live for, because it is a calling. It is not necessarily a job. It is a calling. And I wanted to tell you something. I was in court last week with somebody going through some domestic violence, and I was asking the ones downstairs. There was a new guy in there. I thought, God, has he even got his driver's license? He looked so young. And he was new, and I could tell, and I thought, I just really want to thank him, because I tell he was so just diligent in everything he was doing. And I got to sit in Craig Turner's courtroom. He did great. I miss him, but he did great. I'm so proud of him, sitting up there like he thought he was the Wizard of Oz. So, we just can't forget people. This can't get common. You know, losing life and getting harmed, domestic violence, sexual assault is not common, and you have to have those who are willing to go to bat for them too. So, I just want us to all really work together to where we're the safest and we're good neighbors, and we can do that. So I know we can, because that's what we're made of. We're a good county. We really are. So thank you.
Ms. Allen.
Well, I think all of us pretty much, have something that's really close to your heart and that you really want to fight for. And the schools is one for me. I volunteer at Hall River Elementary. Law enforcement is so important. If you talk to anybody out in the community, they're mentioning schools, law enforcement. And I think Hall River Fire Department will tell you that I have been a big supporter of our fire department and our EMS. It's like I tell everybody, within 3 minutes you've got some brain damage, and within 5, it's permanent. And how important that every one of our firefighters is an EMS, and we respond to all calls, and we beat, the rescue being there and started treatment, and how important that is for all of them. And so I'm, really supportive of that, and I'm supportive of the Second Amendment, but it has to be done safely. We have to look after the safety of our residents also.
Mr. Pearl.
I echo what Commissioner Allen. Get used to it.
Yeah.
I echo what she said about the Second Amendment and the balance with safety. What I think the next, in addition to rewriting the proposed ordinance and considering that, I think what we need to do is have all the parties sit down and get together. It was, those comments were made several times with the speakers. I've been following this for 4 or 5 years as the battle rages forward, and I think bottom line is like to see some sit-down, round table discussion, break some bread, and see what we can do in terms of agreement, because I don't think all of the solutions are based on what the law can do at this point. We're quite limited, certainly at the county level. So let's get the folks together just to sit down and start realizing the other side doesn't necessarily have horns.
Mr. Carr.
Oh, first I'd say ditto. There's an old, I'm not sure how it applies exactly here, but it sounds like in my head that it feels right. There's a tried and kind of somewhat trite phrase, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We had representatives from 3 of the other 4 ranges here, and I can, I guess hypothetically say I represent the 4th one. The sheriff's told me he's never had a complaint on any of them. That says something. Somebody needs to take the time to get the 2 sides together, sit down and come up with a solution. Maybe I don't know what it is. You can't fix a problem without talking about it. And if you don't sit down and talk about it, you're just gonna be adding to it. And, this is one problem that needs to get fixed, and it shouldn't require government to get in the middle of it and fix it. But government gets in the middle of it and tries to fix something, it almost always messes it up. And I think that example was well said tonight. There were a lot of people who were concerned about the potential for what could have been the impact of tonight's potential action. I just wish there was some way these 2 sides could get together and find a solution. I know it's gotta be out there. It's not good. The bad news for both sides is it's not gonna be 100% of what anybody wants. I've done negotiations all my life. You never get 100% of what you want. If you go in expecting that, you might as well walk away from the negotiation. You ask for what you think you can get, try to settle on what you can tolerate, and in most cases live with. So I don't want this to have to come up again. But now that doesn't say that we don't need to be thinking about putting together a plan that satisfies the other gun ranges and puts in place a plan that will prevent a future action such as we're dealing with right now. I don't know if that's a possibility or not. It may not be possible, but it might be a nice goal. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
For my comments, one, there is pending litigation as to the RAD range, as of my understanding. Is your client involved in that?
Yes, yes.
All right. I'm not sure that we shouldn't wait and see what the Superior Court decides in that litigation before we as county commissioners try to resolve all the issues. Be nice to have and I don't know whether it's a bench trial or a jury trial, could be either. The attorney would know, and I'm not gonna ask. And you also have the 1.5 acre tract where there's shooting and bullets going into adjoining properties and so forth. So it's not just one gun range. As Mr. Carter alluded to, you have the Wildlife Club, for example. And if you require a range master or even a certified whatever, and I'm asking that be tightened up as to what that needs to be part of the definitions, whether you're requiring certified or range master or whatever that requirement is. But that would almost shut down the wildlife club if they had to have a range master or something on site 24/7. So there are a lot of holes in it. Mr. Stevens and I have talked frequently about this issue. He's trying to come up with something that everyone can live with and be safer. We do not need bullets, projectiles leaving a property. It's just not safe. At the same time, we don't want to make this so restrictive that those of us that like to target practice and are members of gun ranges and whatever are prohibited from honing our skills. So it's a real, not sure what to call it. I like Steve's suggestion of conundrum. But we're continuing to work on it. I'd be interested in council just keeping us informed, myself, if you don't mind, and Mr. Stevens, as to your litigation.
I can do that.
Thank you. That's all I have. Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Chair. To follow on that, I'll just say that I've gotten a lot of contact information tonight from local gun owners, gun club associates, and I'm going to try to put together what I'm going to call the gun cabinet to get some feedback on proposed. I got to keep it light when I can. On future proposals related to this ordinance, I think we can work together to try to come up with some solutions to the problems that have been presented that folks can live with. That's really my goal. So we'll work on that. I'll keep the board updated. Further from me, I want to move, or ask that the board move, rather, pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3, ask the board move into closed session to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body. The attorney will advise the board on ongoing legal matters, including the Beers et al.
Well, that pretty much will conclude that. They're going to go into a closed session, so I'm going to go ahead and close this. You've been able to listen to a little bit of both sides of the story about the gun range and the potential ordinance in Alamance County, and I'd just like to know, where do you stand? What do you think should happen? What would you like to see in the ordinance, or are you even for an ordinance? And there's some people that don't even want to see one. They're fearful it will trample on their Second Amendment rights. There are others who would like to see one, at least to see some safety measures put into place. But what do you think? So if you would, you could put your comments in the comment section below. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. This is Alamance County Talks Politics. Until next time, take care.